Welcome to Situational Leadership Model, an overview by Business Australia. As competence increases, control must decrease. This demonstration of trust is important for building engagement. Today we're looking at the Situational Leadership Model. First, some background. The Situational Leadership Model was developed by Dr. Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard. It's based on the belief that there's not one best style of leadership. The best style of leadership will depend on the situation, and that means that the tasks to be performed and the makeup of the team performing the tasks. So, the best leaders take the time to consider the many variables affecting their situation and then select their leadership style to suit that situation. Okay, so let's look at the model itself. Most of us naturally adjust our style to suit the situation, whether we realize it or not. For example, we give a trainee or a newly hired team member more latitude to make mistakes than a seasoned employee, and we might direct tasks more closely when a deadline is looming. The situational leadership model is a framework that reminds us to change our style in a measured way. The model will help us analyze the situation and then pick the best leadership style for that particular situation. The x-axis indicates the degree of directed behavior that the leader will bring to that situation, and that is the amount of direction that they will give their team. The higher the direction, the less discretion the team member has to make decisions for themselves. The y-axis indicates the degree of supportive behavior the leader uses, and that is the amount of support they provide their team. So the higher the support, the more the leader helps their team to make decisions and perform their job or their role. The model indicates that there are four primary leadership styles, and the first is S1, or a directing style of leadership. And this style of leadership is associated with autocratic leadership. A directive leader will make all the decisions without consulting his or her team. They will simply inform their team of the decision they've made and expect their team to carry out their instructions. Feedback from the team is discouraged, and the directing leader decides who, what, how, and when. Next, we have the S2, or a coaching style of leadership. And with this style, the leader still defines the roles and tasks, but in comparison to directing, they're more receptive to input and feedback from the subordinates. These leaders sell their ideas and plans to their subordinates to obtain their cooperation. This leadership style is closely related to the democratic style of leadership. Sports coaches are often associated with this style of leadership. They put players into position and then they direct the group as a whole to obtain the best performance. The next leadership style is S3, supporting. And the supporting leader will participate in idea creation and decision making, but most of the decisions will be taken by the team as a whole. Now, this type of leader may appear to be quiet because they lead by example and appear to be an equal team member embedded in the team rather than the ruler of the team. The final leadership style is S4, delegating. Now, delegating leaders are of course responsible for their team, but they provide minimal direction and guidance. It's hands-off style of leadership, similar to laissez-faire leadership, where the group makes almost all the decisions. Now, this type of leader is usually more concerned with communicating their vision of the future than directing day-to-day activities. They will decide what the next step should be to move towards their vision, but it's left completely to the subordinates to determine how to achieve that next step. As well as identifying four leadership styles, the model also identifies four levels of employee development. And the first of those is D1, which you can think of as being an enthusiastic beginner. And here, your team member is low in competence but high in commitment. Basically, they're inexperienced, but they're enthusiastic. Your team member may show willingness, but they lack the specific skills they need to successfully complete the task. Next, we have D2, the disillusioned learner. Here, your team member has some competence but low commitment. They have the skills they need, but for some reason they are unwilling or lack the confidence to perform the task. Maybe the task or the situation is new to them. Next, we have D3, the capable but cautious performer. In this case, the team member has high competence but variable commitment. Your staff member is more capable of performing the task than a D2 level, but for whatever reason, they're unwilling or lack the confidence to perform the task. Finally, we have the D4 level, the self-reliant achiever. Here, your star player has high competence and high commitment. They are confident in their ability to perform the task, but not only that, they're committed and take responsibility for the task. A couple of things to watch out for. It's important to realize that the development level of your team can change over time. So your team might be D1 today, but that doesn't necessarily mean they'll be D1 in a year from now. Development levels are also task specific. So a member of your team could have a D4 development level for a task they perform multiple times, but a D1 level for a task which is new to them. Now that you've determined the development level of your team, you can use the following table to select the most appropriate leadership style. For example, if your team member's development level is D1, you would use a directing style. If it's D3, you would use a supporting style. As an example, suppose you've been appointed as a manager of a new team to work on a brand new project. In this instance, it makes sense to categorize your team's development level as D1, and that's because you're new to the team and the team is new to the project. That means that you adopt a directing style initially, where you're telling the team exactly what you want them to do. Over time, you realize that the team is very skilled, but they're unfamiliar with this particular type of project. In a nutshell, you assess that the development level is D3. They're capable, but they're cautious because the project is new to them. And when you've made that assessment, you decide to switch to a supporting style of leadership. You work closely with the team, almost as if you were an integral member of the team yourself. You encourage ideas and support team members to help build their confidence. A key point to note from this example is that the most effective style of leadership is dependent on the situation you find yourself in at the moment in time. And of course, the situation is going to change over time, and you'll need to morph your leadership style accordingly.